Good afternoon. Good afternoon on this beautiful sunny day. I'm Donna LeMaster Bredenberg. I am privileged to serve as the president of the WKU Alumni Association Board of Directors, working alongside fellow Hilltoppers who share a passion for this university. On behalf of the WKU Alumni Association and our 120,000 alumni around the world, thank you for being here today on this day of celebration. Part of our WKU Alumni Association mission is to serve our alumni community through lifelong relationships and connections. We embrace the connected spirit of our alumni today as we both reconnect with old friends and form new relationships with new friends today. Let's begin the day with a moment of reflection as Jim Martens' great niece sings the national anthem. Please welcome Abigail Nalrocki, here with us today from Michigan with her husband Matthew. Please rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much, Abigail. You may all be seated. Today we gather to celebrate two Hilltoppers who embody the WKU spirit, Eva and Jim Martens. We are joined today by many members of their families who have traveled from across the United States to be here to celebrate together. I would like to ask all the members of the Martens' families to stand and be welcomed by our WKU family. We are also thankful for some important individuals in attendance who support the university in a variety of ways. Please join me in welcoming state and local elected officials and their representatives. United States Representative Brett Guthrie, representing United States Senator Mitch McConnell, Gilbert Mischel, representing United States Senator Rand Paul, Clark Arnold, Senator Mike Wilson, Representative Michael Meredith, Representative Patty Minter, Representative Steve Sheldon, Bowling Green Mayor Todd Alcott, Bowling Green City Commissioner Dana Beasley Brown, Bowling Green City Commissioner Sue Perigin, Warren County Magistrate Doug Gorman, Warren County Magistrate Rex McWhorter, and Warren County Magistrate Ron Cummings. Also with us today are many campus leaders and members of the WKU Board of Regents. Additionally, I'm honored to be joined by fellow WKU volunteer leaders and donors of the WKU Alumni Association and our affiliated WKU foundations. Thank you all for all you do to serve WKU and being here to celebrate the transformational philanthropy of Eva and Jim Martens. I would like to especially acknowledge and ask to stand KU President Timothy C. Caboni and First Lady Casey Caboni. Thank you both for being here to commemorate and celebrate this wonderful act of generosity that benefits our Alumni Center and WKU athletics. And I now invite President Caboni to the podium to share his remarks in appreciation of Eva and Jim Martens.
So what a great crowd, what a great day, what a terrific afternoon, and what an amazing occasion. Thank you for being with us this afternoon to recognize and celebrate an extraordinary couple who exemplify the WKU spirit in extraordinary ways. A 1972 graduate, Jim Martens, demonstrates to us all the importance of individual service to one's alma mater. A past member of the Football Endowment Committee and current member of the WKU Foundation Board of Trustees, the Hilltopper Athletic Foundation, and the WKU Real Estate Corporation, Jim devotes countless hours of his personal time to advise and to support WKU. Beyond investing significant energy and time into our university, Jim and his wife Eva have proven themselves as devoted WKU philanthropists, providing unwavering support of our alumni initiatives, our athletics programs, and our student scholarships for more than 50 years. In 2013, this stunning 30,000 square foot building opened its doors to our campus community and has served an integral role on our Hill ever since. A place where we welcome prospective students and their families as they begin campus tours. A place where our faculty, our staff, and our students proudly host events. A place where alumni return and gather as they come back to our Hill. So today we gather to recognize and to celebrate Eva and Jim's most recent contribution of $5 million, one of the largest individual gifts in our university's history. And as we celebrate the Martens' continued philanthropy to our university, we also celebrate the naming of this remarkable facility as the Eva and Jim Martens Alumni Center. Please join me in recognizing as we look upon Jim and Eva's names for generations to come, may we all be reminded of their generosity, of their dedication, of their passion, and of their spirit. And also, let's be reminded of their relentless pursuit of their personal mission to give so that others might realize their dreams. Eva and Jim, thank you for choosing to invest in higher education. Thank you for choosing to invest in athletes. Thank you for choosing to invest in our students. And thank you for choosing to invest in WKU. Your gift forever changes our institution, our students, and our region. And on a personal note, one of the things many people don't realize about Eva and Jim's giving is that it's more than what you see here. It touches individuals, from young people who come to Bowling Green with very little other than the clothes on their back, and they help make sure they have a path forward, to a guy cooking bananas Foster tableside at Andrews who got a big tip one night that made it a little easier to pay the rent. You are a light in a sometimes dark world. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your generosity. And thank you for caring about all of our young people. And thank you, all of you, for being here to celebrate with us. So at this time, I'd like to invite Jim to the podium to share a few words.
Thank you, President Caboni, for your kind words. I don't know how I topped that. I didn't realize all that. Eva and I want to thank each of you for being here today. It's a wonderful honor for us to be here. It's an honor for our family, for Eva and I, and also for our WKU family. We look at it as a celebration of all of us together. You know, there are a lot of fingerprints on our path to get from where we started to get to make this day possible. And many of you are in this room. Some of you I've got to speak to personally, but some not. But it's been a team effort, and I couldn't do it without my wonderful team, whether it's in my business, whether it's at my church, or whether it's serving here at WKU or other places in this community. First, I want to thank Dr. Donald Smith. He planted the seed that led to this day. He made a suggestion that I'd never considered. I didn't think that we were worthy. He planted a seed, and I got to thinking about it. And I thank him for your guidance through this process, a process that we were unfamiliar with, to solve the issue for the Alumni Association, and also to reach our goal to help Western athletics. Thank you, Donald. Also, I want to honor Alex Downing. He knows more about my heart for Western than anybody in this room, except for my bride. And I've known him from serving at the Salvation Army and other places, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and started on the Real Estate Corporation. He was head of that. He knows my heart. And he and Donald may have double teamed me, but that's possible when they're, but if it wasn't for your encouragement, Alex, and your genuine encouragement, this wouldn't have happened. I'd have never put our name forward. I also want to thank my fellow members, board members on the Real Estate Corporation, the HAF, and the WKU Foundation, both past and present. It's an amazing group, except for me, and I'm in such awe of getting to serve and meet such wonderful people that all have a heart for this university. You know, being a Hilltopper is contagious. There's almost 120,000 alumni now, and everyone has got their own story. Mine starts in Bellevue, Michigan, a small town near Battle Creek in southern Michigan. Battle Creek is where I was born. And my first association with hearing about WKU and being a Hilltopper happened when I was in high school. Our industrial arts teacher was from Grand Rapids. He came to WKU, got a degree in industrial arts, married a girl from here, and wound up back in Battle Creek and teaching at our little hometown. He had a wonderful influence on so many of us, not the least of which is mine. And some of my friends and family that are here today also studied under Mr. Hobeck. He was awesome. As I got to be a senior, he kept on about WKU and Hilltopper and all of that, but being a farm boy, I chose to be an ag major. And I thought the best place to do that, and the best path, would be to go to Michigan State University. 40 miles from home, one of the best ag universities in the country. So that's what I did. I applied and was accepted, and that decision was made by me, not by Mr. Hobeck. He kept on, and he had influenced 3 young men from my hometown to come down here ahead of me. And finally, he set up a ride for me to come down and visit at spring break about this time of year. And I came down and I called up to the ag department and told them who I was and I'd like to have a visit if they had the time. They assured me that they had the time. They said, you come right up and we'll put you with a professor today and tomorrow. Those 2 professors were Billy Adams and also Millard Gibson. They made me feel welcome. They were excited about WKU. They were excited about the ag department, and they seemed excited about me becoming Hilltopper. So I enjoyed my experience. The people were all nice and friendly to me down here for no reason, and that's how we are down here, isn't it? And I was excited about that. So on my ride home, 450 miles, I've got to make a decision. I've got a crossroads in my life, and I've got to make a decision. So I was riding along. It was nice and mowing the yard and all of that down here. And when we got to the Michigan line, where it says "Welcome to Michigan," snow flurries started coming down. And at the Michigan line is where I made my decision. I'm going to be a Hilltopper. So I went home and told my mom and dad that. Well, the next phase, September 14th of '68, I came back, and I came back with all my worldly goods in a suitcase and a garbage bag. And I moved into the basement at 1550 Chestnut Street, paying $40 a month rent with two of my buddies from Bellevue. When I went and signed up for classes, I saw a familiar name, Professor Billy Adams. And I saw that he taught 4 different classes. Now, if you're going to get an ag degree, you've got to take at least 2. I took all 4. Luckily, I only took them once. But I signed up for Billy Adams's class, and so I went to class. And of course, I didn't know anybody in the ag department, but he was a great professor. He was great. He taught me a lot about life, but also I found out that he had a side gig going on, and he was in the rental business, and he rented to college students, and specifically to ag students. He and a guy named Kenny Marshall were partners, and they bought old houses up around Western as close as they could, and the bigger the better. And they would modify them up to minimum standards, pretty much, and to stay out of trouble with the law. And they rented to ag majors. And at first we made fun of him, but as I come to realize, it was genius. If you're renting from your professor, are you going to not pay your rent? Are you going to tear up his apartment? Are you going to cause him to get a phone call at 2:30 in the morning? Probably not. I learned a lot from him in class, but I also learned a lot about business from watching him. That planted a seed. In 1972, I graduated. I had another crossroads. You see, with my ag degree, it was always my dream since I was in high school to work for Kellogg's in Battle Creek. That was my dream job. I had an uncle that worked there. 3 of my friends here today retired from Kellogg's. It was a great place to work, and that was my dream job. But as graduation approached, I felt like I was hitting the wall. I had to make a decision. I discovered that I loved WKU, and I loved this community more than going back to Michigan and going to Kellogg's. I never applied. I got a job with the Kentucky Highway Department being an agronomist. And during that time, I met a man named Richard Morgan, and he had 5 mobile homes that he rented over here behind the Western Hills Hotel. They weren't much, but it was 5, and I thought, that's more in my grasp. Maybe I could do that. When you've got 0 and no money, 5 mobile homes is a big number. But I thought about that. In the next year or so, I got an opportunity, oddly enough, to be in the mobile home business. That wasn't my life's work. That wasn't my dream job, but the money was good, and so that's what I did. In the second year, I started on my way. I bought a $2,500 mobile home for a rental property, and I borrowed $2,500 from Jimmy Goodnight at American National Bank, and that was my start. Over the next few years, my portfolio grew to 3 to 10 to 20 to 50, and I started buying houses and bigger properties. But my big break came in September of 1980. I received a phone call from an old friend, Billy Adams. He had a problem, and to him it was big, but to me it was small. And I said, I'm so glad you called. I'd be glad to help you. And I did. And I won't tell you the whole story, you don't want to hear all that, but in 60 days, when the dust settled, Billy and I were partners of Greenwood Estates Mobile Home Park out on Scottsville Road. 183 spaces with 52 vacancies and 4 acres of vacant land out front. And because of his financial statements, certainly not mine, we got in for $10,000 apiece. That was our down payment. That deal was a springboard to my commercial real estate career. It wouldn't have happened without that phone call, and it wouldn't have happened without Billy Adams. Mr. Don Hobeck changed my life, and Billy Adams changed my life. We all have teachers that have changed our lives, but those two stand out. There are others, but that's all we've got time for today. The Hilltopper spirit is still alive and well. On January 14th, I met a young man. He was a refugee from Kabul, Afghanistan. He was an interpreter with our embassy. And when we abandoned Afghanistan, he was one of the last ones to get to leave on a helicopter. He went to Germany and then spent some time in Nashville and wound up here in Bowling Green, living with 2 men from Afghanistan that he had never met. My friend Mickey got to know him and brought him to church. And I got to know him, and we went to breakfast. And I heard his story, and he said, I'm going through the International Center, but there's 370 of us, and there's only 2 of them to help us. I want to be a Hilltopper. I have no hope. I have no connection. I said, what could I do? Is there something I could do? God put our paths together. What could I do? I dialed up John Paul Blair. I told him the story I just told you. I said, on top of that, he's got no records. He went to the American University in Kabul, but the Americans scrubbed the records so the Taliban couldn't trace their path, especially the female students. So how are we going to solve this? He and President Caboni sprung into action. I called at 9 o'clock that morning. At 2:30, Atala got an email that he is a Hilltopper, and he's now in the honors program. Stand up. Including our children, there are now 9 Western graduates in our family tree, and I'm very proud of every one of them, including our children, 3 of their spouses. We've got a granddaughter that's a Western graduate, and we've got some more high school Hilltopper prospects we're working on, and they've got a 529 plan, and as Alex Downing taught me, they can go any place they want and they get a free ride as long as it starts and ends with WKU. Otherwise, the family will have a nice vacation without them. As you know, as President Caboni said, all campus tours for prospective WKU students and their families start and end right here in this building. It's a welcome place for all people from around the world, regardless of their race, color, creed, or country of origin, or their financial capability. It's a place of welcome for everyone, whether a small town boy from Michigan or a refugee from Kabul. WKU offers a chance to build a foundation for a better life. I came here because of WKU, and a big reason I stayed here is because of WKU. It's not about where you start in life, it's about where you finish. And Eva and I are thankful for the blessings that God and WKU and Bowling Green have given to us and to our family. We've been so blessed in so many ways. That's why making these gifts of support to the WKU Alumni Association and to WKU Athletics is such a good fit for us. It's a humbling honor to have our name enshrined with so many of our heroes that are part of the WKU history. They personify the spirit makes the master. Go Tops.
Thank you, Jim, for sharing your WKU story. Like you mentioned, every alum has their story, and it starts with the moment that they were introduced to WKU. For many like you, it's a school teacher like Mr. Hobeck that tells you about a special place on top of a hill in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Like you, that idea to visit, that leads to a visit that creates the opportunity to transform your life. Since 2013, Hilltoppers have launched their climb from right here at 292 Alumni Avenue as they begin their campus tour and their journey to becoming a Hilltopper. Additionally, the WKU family gathers here for special events and occasions like we are today. This facility is also where we welcome alumni who return home to the Hill. That means so much to them. With your transformational gift, we are able to embark on a new era for this beautiful facility and the work of the WKU Alumni Association. For generations to come, we will be able to create opportunities to transform lives by welcoming prospective students, staff, faculty, donors, and alumni to the Eva and Jim Martens Alumni Center. Now I would like to ask Board President Donna LeMaster Bredenberg, and if I can ask President Caboni to assist in a presentation of a special gift. Eva and Jim, if you will join them right up here to my right. Now, Eva, Jim warned me that when he surprises you, he often has to regain consciousness. However, I hope that you give him some grace today because he was with me on this surprise. So this surprise and this honor is just for you. In very special cases, individuals who have demonstrated outstanding leadership and service to Western Kentucky University may be considered alumni, even if they do not hold a degree from WKU. Honorary alumni status is conferred by the WKU Alumni Association Board of Directors to a very limited number of persons who have served the university with a distinguished record of support, advocacy, and commitment. This honor is to recognize your outstanding service and support critical to WKU's success. This award is presented to those who have shown exemplary dedication and commitment to the mission of the university. Eva, on behalf of the WKU Alumni Association, the Board of Directors, and our members, it is my privilege to bestow upon you the official title of Honorary Alumna. Eva, this official title of Honorary Alumna is in recognition not only of your philanthropic commitment, but also your advocacy and support of WKU and our community. Thank you so much. Welcome to the WKU alumni family. Now, Eva and Jim, as a token of our appreciation for this transformational gift, we would like to present you both with this framed print of the Eva and Jim Martens Alumni Center. It will make a beautiful addition to your Western room at home and be a piece with a story linked to this moment and the work that we do in the Alumni Center that now bears your name. Thank you all so much. Please be seated. Eva and Jim, with your name proudly adorning this Alumni Center, your name and the Martens family name will forever be associated with the work that happens here, which creates opportunities to transform lives. To tell you a story about how this center transformed lives, I now invite one of our current students, Grace Miser, a junior from Wilder, Kentucky, to share how her visit to this Alumni Center and the programs of the WKU Alumni Association have already transformed her life. After Grace's remarks, we've invited two of our notable alumni, Alex Downing and Lee Robertson, Mr. Western himself, to recognize you, Eva and Jim, for your outstanding leadership and support of WKU. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be standing before you all today, and indeed a privilege to speak on behalf of so many students who have been directly impacted by the Alumni Association and the Alumni Center. I hope that in hearing my story, you're reminded of your own journey on the Hill and the people and places that made it possible. Whether it was the teacher who never gave up on you or the classroom where you met your lifelong partner, I believe that we all each have a story to tell, and I look forward to sharing mine with you. My story on the Hill began 3 years ago. It was just a few hours before my Alumni Leadership Scholar interview, and I was debating whether or not to take a picture with the big red statue outside of the Alumni Center, because I did not want to get my hopes up. However, I am grateful I did, because I do not think that the Grace in that picture would have ever imagined that in 3 years she would be standing in that very place, not as an anxious high school student, but as an Alumni Leadership Scholar, the youngest founding member of the WKU Alumni Association Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, and an intern for the very people who took a chance on her. I was the first of my 7 siblings to go away for college. Therefore, you can imagine the look on my parents' faces when I told them I wanted to give up my full ride to NKU for a college 3.5 hours away. Despite my parents' best efforts to dissuade me with the crippling reality of student loan debt, I knew WKU was where I wanted to go, and I was committed to doing everything in my power to make it a possibility. Knowing full well my parents were not going to be able to financially support me, I buckled down and applied to as many scholarships as were willing to hear my story. Fortunately, all those late nights and tough conversations eventually paid off, and I was able to catch the attention of the Alumni Leadership Scholarship Committee. This interview ended up being the deciding factor in whether I was going to be able to attend WKU. Fortunately, it was a successful interview, and that is why I'm able to stand before you today. The Alumni Center was the first place I stepped foot onto campus and has continued to serve as an incubator for my hopes and dreams. It is where I met my mentor of 3 years, Dina Mills, and it continues to be a place where potential and opportunity collide. The Alumni Center is much more than just a pretty backdrop, but rather a living, breathing example of the incredible power of the WKU spirit when alumni are united together. I no longer stand alone, but am surrounded by an incredible community of active alumni who are dedicated to making stories like mine a possibility. In closing, thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Martens. On behalf of current students and those to come, thank you for carrying on the WKU tradition. Your transformational gift will no doubt continue to touch lives both on the Hill and beyond. Thank you.
Grace, thank you for sharing your story. Mr. Martens, thank you for your kind comments. When Mr. Martens asked me to make a few comments today, I was both honored and humbled. I immediately began reflecting on my longtime friendship with him and how blessed I have been that our paths have crossed and that I am able to call him a role model, a mentor, and a close friend. Although we saw each other at WKU events, I first got to know Mr. Martens well when we served together on the Salvation Army Board of Directors about 25 years ago. It was the first of many boards and committees on which I have had the privilege to serve with him, and I have learned from each experience. Jim Martens is the epitome of a servant leader. I have learned many lessons of leadership and humble service from him, dating back to our first experiences on the Salvation Army Board. He never fails to thank not only me, but every member of the board or committee for their service and for the opportunity to serve together. He has taught me the importance of valuing team members, of listening to all input, and of making thoughtful and informed decisions. My admiration for Mr. Martens has grown exponentially over the years as I have observed his tireless service and dedication to Western Kentucky University, as he described his heart for this institution. He and Mrs. Martens have been fiercely loyal to WKU and have not only honored the history and traditions of the institution, but have impacted future generations of Hilltoppers and are leaving a lasting legacy. But without question, what I admire the most about the Martens is the manner in which they live out their faith every day. I will have to admit, for me personally, there have been times that the lines have been blurred. I was recently reminded of a story that took place about 24 years ago when my daughter, Kat, was 3. We had been to church and gone over to my mom and dad's for lunch after. I asked Kat to tell my parents about the story of Jonah and the whale that she had heard in Sunday school that morning. She proceeded to say, "The whale ate Jonah, but Jonah had God's Spirit, and the Spirit makes the master." It was one of those moments as a parent that you realize you may need to reevaluate your priorities. It's obvious to me that Jim and Eva Martens possess in abundance that Western spirit, which Dr. Cherry described as that other thing. But first and foremost, they serve WKU, their church, and their community by glorifying God in everything they do. I would like to close by sharing a poem that has meant a great deal to me for many years. My father always described his mother, my grandmother, as a clipper and saver. When going through some of her personal belongings after her death, he came across this poem that he shared with his children many years ago. When I read this, I think of Jim and Eva Martens. It is entitled The Living Sermon. I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one would walk with me than merely tell the way. The eye's a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, but example's always clear. The best of all the preachers are the men who live their creeds, for to see good put in action is what everybody needs. I soon can learn to do it if you'll let me see it done. I can watch your hands in action, your tongue too fast may run. The lectures you deliver may be very wise and true, but I'd rather get my lessons by observing what you do. I may not understand the high advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding how you act and how you live. At the bottom, in my grandmother's handwriting, is written, "Let's try harder to live each day that others will see Christ in us." Mr. and Mrs. Martens, Thank you for your generosity, and thank you for being a living sermon.
How about that? I made it. Thank you, Ellie. Jim and Eva, I saw the name for the first time today. I don't know where I've been, but it's a natural. It's what it should be. A man and a woman, an honorary alumnus, and an alumnus. I'm proud of that name up there, and I look forward to telling people about you two when they say, tell me about those names. I thought about this, Mr. President, and you're a classy public higher education man. One day, we might need plaques in each building, a very short paragraph explaining all the people that are named in that building. And even better than that, it might be a little booklet sometime that had the short paragraph and a picture of all of them that we could hand to a freshman when they go through the orientation. Well, I enjoyed looking at that name and thinking about you two people and how much I've enjoyed you. I found a song that I liked. It's not my favorite, and I'm not going to sing it. Because with this raspy voice, it'd be a mass exodus, and we got Todd Stewart coming up next. There wouldn't be anybody here to hear it. But I like this song, and most of it fits you perfectly. Some of it doesn't. I'm going to read the part that does. My friend, I'll make it clear. I'll state my case of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway and more, much more than this. I did it my way. Now, you all know that's old Blue Eyes himself singing that song. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do. I saw it through without exemption. I planned each chartered course, each carefully step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times I'm sure you knew when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all and I stood tall and did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has naught. Let the records show I took all the blows and did it my way. As I said to you two people before and to everybody in here, that name out there on that place is perfect. And I wish you people standing there in the back had a chair. But I couldn't do that. You all can. 75 years from now, there'll be a senior class of college prospects stop and come in this beautiful building. It'll be a different group of greeting them, I think, Anthony. but they'll come in here, and wouldn't it be nice if the person that greeted them knew about what these two did? I think that'd be helpful. I like to think that would happen someday. You tell us whether it should or not, Mr. President, someday. when you got time for a little project like that. You may be busy getting $74 million for a building. Jim and I've been having fun together since I've known him. I first knew him when he was running. He don't do that anymore, Eva. Matter with him. You can tell it too. But he's talked to me about how he got down here and he had never been away from his hometown there in Michigan very much. When that professor in his ag department taught him into coming down and checking on Western, he finally agreed to it, even though the only college he'd ever thought about was that great university 40 miles from him that he talked about, Michigan State. But he finally got down here, and he said the surprise when he got here was that he didn't see a coonskin cap or a long rifle or anybody selling moonshine whiskey. He said the people were friendly and nice and dressed properly and socially adjustable. He was really shocked. He went to class, and the professor there was a very nice fellow, specialized in his subject, and he knew that there was different deals that each student had, and had special training for each one of them. And the students he was sitting with in those days, they were dressed a little more preppy than they dress today. And he said they looked very bright-eyed and all, and he said they had a hungry, yearning, burning for learning. And that's who he got to be in his class with. He finally got his degree, and after all those students, there's 125,000 alumni and former students. And soon we'll know about you and Eva's name being out there. There's 20,000 students, faculty, staff here that'll already know about it. That makes 150,000 people that soon will know that your two names are up there on this beautiful building. And I think that all of them at one time will say thanks. That's pretty impressive when you think about it. Mama Joyce and I, and she's here, 69 years she's been here with me. I'm going to tell this story too. A month and 22 days from now, I'll be 100 years old. I'm going to do all I can to hang in there. Because right here in this room, the alumni, the university is putting on a party for me. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I think I'll show up. But I was just talking about Mama Joyce now, how much we appreciated you people inviting us into your beautiful home. And so warm and homely and massive. And up on a ridge overlooking Drake's Creek, and the club at Old Stone is just a beautiful home you've got there. And I want to come back sometime but I want to come when there's mealtime. We thank you for all you've done and will do, and we wish you Godspeed.
Tough act to follow. Nice order on this presentation. For those of you that I do not know, I'm Todd Stewart. I'm the Director of Athletics. And in the athletic department, we have a saying, you're known by the company you keep. So today, I follow a legend, and I'm talking about a legendary couple. And so certainly that's an honor for me, but But more importantly than that, Eva and Jim, when I look around this room, standing room only and then some, that's the company you keep. And I think that speaks volumes about the respect that this community has for you and the impact that you two have had on so many and will continue to have. This is the company you keep, and we all thank you. We all thank you tremendously for the impact that you have on so many and continue to. And obviously, like Alex said, the manner in which you live your life, the attributes that you stand for, it's exemplary. It really, truly is. I'm going to date myself here for a second, but as I look around this room, I think a lot of people will remember this. And Lee, you referenced 75 years from now in this room. I think there's only one person that'll be here 75 years from now in this room. It's probably you. You know? You're doing something right. But there was a commercial in the 70s and the 80s, and it was about a brokerage firm called E.F. Hutton. And E.F. Hutton was actually a broker. And for those of you that don't remember that, the way the commercial went, and there were multiple commercials, but one was set in a restaurant, one was set in an airport, and there was a lot of commotion and a lot of people, and just the natural noises that you would have in a restaurant and in an airport. And it was two businessmen talking about business. And one would say, you know, my broker says this is what I should do, this and this and this. And then the other broker would say, well, my broker is E.F. Hutton. And E.F. Hutton says, and as soon as he said E.F. Hutton says, everything stopped in time. Everybody froze because they all wanted to know what E.F. Hutton said. Jim, that's how I feel about you. You know, every time that you talk, I learn something. You know, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your counsel. I appreciate your perspective on so many things. And Eva, you know, you as well. I mean, I think that the knowledge you have and the way that you go about things is certainly helpful to me on a consistent basis. But I know I speak for the entire athletic department, you know, and the way that you have impacted so many people within athletics. I mean, you really, truly have, and you show it in so many ways. Obviously, you're at our sporting events. You're in Frisco, Texas for basketball, not as long this year as we would have liked, but you were there. But you go to our bowl games, you go to all of our sporting events, but really beyond that, obviously you support the teams and you root for our programs, but I think more importantly to that what means so much to us is how much you care about our people. You know, you don't just root for the teams, you care about the people, you care about the person, you care about the student athlete, you care about the coach, you care about their families, you know, you care about all that. And that means a lot. I mean, that really means, that's what we all take from you, you know, is just you care beyond the outcome of games, you care about the people. And we really, truly appreciate that. And there's really no way we can appropriately say thank you other than just to continually say thank you. We do have a little something over here for for both of you, but the class of 1972 grad, President Caboni, if you would join us, and our senior staff that's here in athletics, if you would come up here for a minute, we have a little something for you.
I'm Amanda Trabue, Vice President for Philanthropy and Alumni Engagement, and we appreciate each of you joining us here this afternoon for this wonderful celebration for Eva and Jim and your extraordinary philanthropy. We've heard firsthand today from several hilltoppers whose lives were transformed on this hill. As this building signifies the beginning of one's journey at WKU, we know that thousands more will be forever changed by that welcoming spirit which is woven into the fabric of this university, which Jim felt that first day when he stepped on campus. I hope you leave today inspired by the true selflessness and servant leadership that Eva and Jim embody through their passionate involvement and commitment to our community, and that you feel moved to pay it forward in your own special way. This investment from the Martens family launches a new era of the Alumni Center, and it reinvigorates the work that we do to connect over 120,000 alumni and friends in a meaningful way with this institution. We will enthusiastically welcome Hilltoppers for generations to come to their home on the Hill, to the Eva and Jim Martens Alumni Center. Now, as we close this afternoon, we welcome all of you to join us in the atrium for a reception. Please make yourselves at home in the building. Our student alumni ambassadors are stationed throughout the building and will be happy to give you a tour. Thank you for being with us, and as always, go Tops.